Hey, bro.
How you doing, mate?
Good. Is my camera jumped on or not?
Nah, not yet, buddy.
What's happening there? Here we go.
Kia ora, mate. Kia ora.
Brother, you good?
Yeah, good, buddy. How about yourself?
Very good. I'm just going to get a better view in here. It's all right. That's good. Nice.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for coming on, doing an interview with me, mate. I really appreciate it.
Here's your brother.
So just to give you a bit of a heads up of what my page is about. It's called NRL Fans WA. It's based around promoting the game here in Perth. I go to local games, juniors and seniors, take videos, take pictures of the games, players, promote the clubs, share all the news, results, all that sort of stuff. Plus, I also share news and results of NRL because obviously everyone follows the NRL as well. So, yeah. So that's just a bit of a rundown of the page, mate. So
Awesome, bro. Cool.
Yeah, we'll get into it, mate. Looking up some of your stats last night, mate. You played from 99 to 05 with the Warriors, 101 games. 06, you played with Wakefield over in England with 26 games. 4 for Samoa, representing your heritage there, mate. And also 9 games for the Kiwis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a highlight game or anything in particular that sort of stands out for you?
Oh, look, there's a few. I mean, there's nothing like your first NRL game. And for me, I think that was a 99, or was at SFS, Sydney Football Stadium on a Monday night. And, I had the likes of Stacey Jones, Matthew Ridge, Stephen Kearney. And then on my side, we're playing against the likes of Quinton Pongia, Western Love Brother, Richard Barnett, some of the absolute legends of the game, Brad Fittler, who was someone that I looked up to as a kid and idolised. When I was a kid, I don't forget how many times at lunchtime that I'd step off my left and pretend I was Freddie, Fittler, because I was actually half growing up through the grades, bro. So to debut against your idol is one thing, and I guess we won that game, which was great. But what happened within that game itself, Ali threw a hit high, and then Lauatiti, and then Freddie punched Ali, then I punched Freddie. My idol on that night, which was pretty crazy. But then we ended up winning the game. And, to enjoy that and to play with those sort of people were pretty amazing. And just incidentally, after that, I actually got to get Freddie's last test jumper when I played against him in Wellington. He was 13 and I was 13, and he signed it since, bro. So it's great what you get to get from the great game of rugby league, bro. Someone that you admired for a very long time, you got to play against it in your debut, and then also finish up, call him a mate, and then have his signed Australian jumper. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear, mate. Yeah, that's some memorabilia for you to pass on to your kids as well. What was it like representing Samoa in the 2000 World Cup?
Yeah, it was good, man. It was awesome because there was a lot of us that played in the junior Kiwi side when we were a little bit younger. Just a few years before, with the Polatour boys, Joe Ngalaval, David Topamona, a lot of these guys that went on to do wonderful things at senior level and for the Kiwis as well. And we all had ambitions of playing for that Samoa team and Tour Samoa, and it so happened to be in 2000. Some of those guys played for the Kiwis, but for us, we were able to get together, and it was quite an experience because New Zealand Māoris were in that tournament as well. They're in the same pool as Tour Samoa, so the Clinton Torpies, Taura Nikals, and they were playing for that side. And I remember all the banter at training leading up into that World Cup, Warangi Kopu and the boys, Henry Perenara. And I was like, man, it's all about Samoa. Kylie Luai, who played for the Māoris instead of playing for Tour Samoa. So there was a lot of rivalry back and forth. All these young bucks, setting a line in the sand or drawing a line in the sand and picking each side. So someone that could have played for both. But it was a great experience, man. We weren't like the Kiwis in terms of they were getting about $3,000 a week. We were getting £100 a week. We had 2 sets of training gear, but we'd train twice. And if you've ever been to England in those cold winters, man, it rains all day. So we trained twice and a day. So we'd never had a clean set of gear to train or to play in the next day or to have a bit of fun. But I tell you what, brother, as a young kid growing up and seeing all these guys, play against Ireland, Kevin Campion, Luke Ricketson, all these type of guys. Henry Farfili was our six at the time too. To get a chance to play for Samoa of humble beginnings that we dreamed of for a very long time against some of these bigger countries and forces in rugby league was awesome too, because then you also got a chance to sort of test yourself, because we hadn't played much of first grade at that stage, but you got to see guys that were noted first graders, guys that were very good Super League players. I was like, oh man, you go against them and you put yourself against them, and it's a lot of fun. That year we got up to beat the New Zealand Māori team, and then we made the quarterfinals. But unfortunately, we got the Australian side. But David Solomona was amazing in Watford. What he did, the display he put on, I think he scored a couple of tries, and what he could do with ball in hand was amazing. It's a great experience. And I got Joey John short that day, and against Brad Fittler and all those legends, and they went on to win that tournament that year as well in 2000. They beat the Kiwis in the final.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, right. Was there one thing that you sort of in your career, whether it be your boxing, which we'll get into a bit later, or your rugby league career, that you like a dark time that you got through your in your sporting career? That is there anything sort of advice that you could give to the people that will watch this eventually? That they can use to help them out of a dark time.
Yeah, I not so much back then, but now, and having hindsight and talking to a lot of people in that field, it's always being grateful and thinking about that cup always being half full, and the way you look at it is perception, right? Because quite often you look at the situation you're in and you think you're the victim, and you think, man, this is too hard, I can't cope with this, or this is not fair, that's not fair, I'm the victim. But if you just stand back a little bit and then, like I said, adjust the way you look at that cup, not being half empty, being half full, you understand that you're playing a great game, you're earning a decent living, you're doing what a lot of people haven't had the chance of doing. But I think also, if your purpose is strong, and purpose is the last thing on your mind before you go to bed at night, and the reason why you get up in the morning, I think that can help you, because there's going to be those hard times, right? So I put it down to 3 P's. Purpose, which is what I just said, last thing on your mind before you go to bed, and the reason you get up in the morning. The process is how you get from point A to point B. And normally you can have that mapped out, how to become an NRL player, how to become a doctor, how to become anything really, and that's there for you all to see. And the last one is perseverance. Like if you knock on that door and that door's not open, if you walk away, it may never open. The longer you knock on the door, the louder noise you make, the harder you hit. Someone may come and open it, or you bust that door down. So I just use that to talk to kids today. Process, purpose, process, perseverance, and then because your purpose is strong enough, it goes all the way back around again, man. But it's got to hang in there. I left the Warriors. I never thought I'd ever leave the Warriors, because it's the only team I ever wanted to play for. I was born and bred here in Auckland. I signed a scholarship at 15. I captained the club. I played 100 games. We had big ambitions and aspirations, but I was getting a bit of hard time on radio sport. There was a section of the crowd that booed one day when I came out because of the fights and that were happening as the game was changing. And man, I was like, so what did I do? I sort of thought about all my family and around me. I thought it was pretty tough for them. It was tough for me, but you know what? I should be able to handle that, because that was the club I wanted to play for. So I went overseas and played in England. Ended up only playing for a year when I had a 2-year contract, and I retired at the age of 28. But like sometimes I look back in that and think, you know what? That's fine that you got booed, or that's fine that people thought you were the whipping boy at radio sport for a little while, because that's normal. And we find later on in life now that happens quite often with a lot of players, and even worse with social media. But you've got the power in your hands to change that each week you go out. And in the end, if you're doing what you want to do on the field, and it's fulfilling your purpose and filling your cup, it doesn't really matter what happens out there. But when you're young and when you care so much about a side, and when you get a little bit hurt and people around you get hurt, that's how sometimes you deal with things, you run. But that's fair, right? Face everything and run, or face everything and rise. And sometimes you got to run towards it and just rise.
Yep, that's a great bit of advice, mate. Absolutely. You're talking before about Brad Fittler being one of your idols growing up. Was there anyone else that inspired you? I know that your father was a fighter boxer, 53 pro fights in the middleweight and lightweight classes. I'm assuming he would be one of your idols as well.
Yeah, he was
someone
bro,
else.
but indirectly, like he didn't say much, but you know, he was very hard, and you know, there was a couple of quotes that stick with me to this day. You know, like I was one of those young kids who thought, you know, there's a bit of naivety there because I thought Dad had achieved what he did, and if Dad could do it, anyone could do it because you know you're young and you think that's the way. And I used to tell him, Dad, I'm going to do this. Dad, I'm going to do that. And he goes, son, don't tell me, show me. And that was something that I had to live with, and something that I still stand by today. When a lot of people say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and they don't, or they don't even start, they don't even take that first step, which is even worse, right? So, you know, and he was always a big fan of being fit, you know, and I understand what he meant back then, you know, because I say that today, when you're fighting fit, whatever you do, you can do it that much better because you feel better about yourself. You see things happen slower in and around you. You can deal with any pressures or with stuff that gets thrown at you because you're in a better position mentally and physically. So that's good as well. Yeah, but you know, very lucky early on that when I made the junior Kiwis, that someone like Ruben Wiki took me under his wing. And there was also my first roomie in the Kiwis camp, and gave me a Canberra jersey, and we're best of mates now. He's an absolute legend, still in top shape, and he's doing well in the community, man.
Yeah, that's cool, mate. Yeah, no, that's that's awesome, mate. Just with your rugby league career, I was reading up on it was Wikipedia, but it was you had you were voted one of the players that people didn't want to get into a fight with on the field, mate. You know, you had a few scraps. I've seen a couple of the highlights. You know, you weren't afraid to throw the fists. How did that stand with you as a footballer? You know, being more known for, you know, your fights in a sense than anything else, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Because that's what happens, right? Because you get a whole lot of injuries, or there comes a time within a team where you have to reinvent yourself, or you have to play your part within a team that contributes in that environment. And that was something that Mick Watson and Daniel Anderson and a lot of those guys who come from the Australian sort of era mentality is like they wanted an enforcer. Kevin Campion, Matthew Ridge, they absolutely loved that. So in 2001, when we made the playoffs for the first time, was co-captaincy of Stacey Jones and Kevin Campion. When that season finished, you know, the greatest first time we ever made the playoff finals, Mick Watson told me that I was going to be the captain the following year. And I laughed. I walked away. I said, yeah, whatever, mate. Yeah, whatever. We just had our most successful season. You got Stacey Jones, a club legend. You got Kevin Campion, an absolute legend. That's not going to happen. So fair enough, came around the next year at 24 years of age, and I was the youngest captain at that stage. But that's how they saw us playing good early on. And back then it was okay, being that enforcer. And, you know, with me having those sort of injuries and not being able to do that, what I could do years before, and being more selfless for the team, that was the position I took on myself. But you know what? I would have much rather been a player. And then actually later on, in 2005, I tried to go back to playing because I knew that you know, I was giving away too many people. I knew that the enforcer wasn't the way that they want to do things anymore in terms of the competition and their outrule and all that type of stuff. But you know, Mick called me into his office. He said, "Bro, I don't want that. I want you to be that guy." You know, and you know, at moments we played our best, and you know, if I ever had a fight, we never lost one of those games. But that's what happens, you know. Because like I tell you what, bro, sometimes I'll go to the game and I'm happy. I don't even want to get that angry head on my shoulders. You know, Mick would look over to me, and some players would look over to me. You ready? I go, yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready. But I wasn't ready, bro. I didn't want to do shit. And then, you know, and then sometimes when you do that and you get into that that environment, it's a fine line, and you can cross that. And there was times when I crossed that, which I regret as well. But it's really hard to get up and do, man. You know, I don't envy anyone who has to do that for a team, but then pull it back at the right time. Pretty tough.
Yeah. Were you? Did you ever cross paths with Gordon Tallis in that era? Because, mate, you know, he was obviously known for that sort of stuff as well.
Legend. Gordy is an absolute legend. I'm pretty sure one game, I told my boys ages ago, because I'm a big fan of Gordy. He's an absolute legend. We see him and everything else. And I said, come on, Gordy, let's have a go. But then I laughed and I said, maybe I was just whispering it in my own head because I didn't want Gordy to hear it. But, you know, I often say, bro, like if my life depended on it, I can't put in the back. If I picked it forward, it would be Gordon Tallis, because there's nothing he can't do. The guy can intimidate. He can put a shot on. He can score a try. He can lead. He can command. There's nothing, you know, like we think about that Hodges tackle over the sideline, you know, because I'm a Queenslander myself, you know, and that sort of stuff is inspirational, bro. Ben Ross, I remember the hiding that he gave Ben Ross as well. So yeah, it was funny because actually Gordy and Wendell Saylor and I almost had a punch up right before the Steve Reardon game. We're at Mount Smart. It's the first time we beat them. It was Wendell Saylor who was the captain. He got called in to be the captain of the Broncos side. We had never beaten the Broncos since the inception of the competition in 2001. We played them at home. We beat them, and we were sort of coming back. And he and I had a couple of words, and I thought we were going to get it on. He was into it. It was actually him into me because he's a very, very much of a verbalist guy. And then for whatever reason, it didn't happen. And then the following week, the Reardon thing happened. And he was like, oh, shit, when he saw me at the Kiwis Australian games, he said, bro, lucky we didn't have a fight. And it was a bit of a laugh because I was on Treasure Island with Wendell too, bro. He's a top dude. And I spoke to him just last week on his radio show over there in Brisbane, I think, or around anyway. But he's a good man.
Yeah, no, that's it. No, so getting into your boxing career, mate. 2007, you make your boxing debut. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, but Tavai. Yep. And you beat him for the vacant Samoan cruiserweight title, mate. Was there any inspiration of getting into boxing? Was it because of your father, or was it just something that you've always wanted to do?
Obviously, early on, I saw what Dad did, and I had thoughts of, you know, wanting to do it. But my mum would not let me do it because she went through that with her husband, and she didn't want me to go through that and watch that. And so we got into that position. So it was pretty weird. But for me, I got put into karate because I used to break the pots and pans because my dad used to watch all those karate movies before his boxing matches to get pumped up. And I got put into karate from an early age of 5. And then I got my black belt. And I wanted to quit so many times. My mum wouldn't let me. I represented New Zealand in karate. And I think the last time I competed, I was 16 years of age, and I was playing in a grand final for the league team the following day, so I couldn't compete in my age group. So I went in the men's and won the men's open, and I won my weight and everything at 16 years of age. So, you know, karate was something that I enjoyed in terms of not the traditional side, but the sport karate, the tournament side. Really enjoyed that. But it wasn't until a little bit later on that I went to England, and David Solomona would sort of put me in it with a local pro. I said, my mate will give you a hiding to this local pro in front of all the boys. And I was like, bro, it was like my first week in training. And then sure enough, after all the banter back and forth, I found myself going down to the gym, helping him out with sparring. And then they wanted to sign me up to box there and then. But I said, oh, bro, I haven't even played a game for Wakefield yet. We'll give it a miss. So I decided I want to come home and do a bit of that. So I cut my my Wakefield days short. I retired at the age of 28 and did a bit of boxing, man.
Yeah, nice. How was it winning that Samoan cruiserweight title, mate? You know, bit of a heritage thing for you too, mate, being Samoan yourself.
Yeah, I loved it, because I hadn't been back to Samoa for a very long time. You know, I went there just when I finished playing just when the Warriors missed out on the grand final 2003, and they were going crazy. They loved the Warriors. So I went back there, had family there. When I went back, I got bestowed a title put on me from the head of state. You know, I had my dad in my corner as a coach. I went out in Samoan colours with the flag over the top of me, and it was electrifying. It was cool because I felt like I was giving back to my dad, and I also felt like I was doing something for Samoa as well. And rather than fighting under the New Zealand flag, I was fighting under the Samoan flag for box rec. But it was fun, and it was one of those moments where you know, you don't want to sort of leading one down as well too, because the pressures of my dad being so good, and I could never compare to him anyway, especially in their eyes. But it was one of those things that you got to get right, because when you go on the lights, man, anything can happen. And he was actually overweight, so he was a heavyweight. He wasn't a cruiserweight, but they managed to be good.
Yeah, nice. So you go through about 5 wins in a row. You come up against Shane Cameron, and he beat you. How did you deal with that? How did you deal with your first loss?
Oh, bro, it wasn't even. Did you see that or know about that?
No, I haven't actually watched that one. No.
I'll tell the story, bro. So that's the fight for life, right? So that's league versus rugby that Dean Lonergan puts over here. So I was waiting for a rugby guy to step up and fight, and they all kept saying no, 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 no. And then Dean Lonergan goes, mate, no one wants to fight you, but sit down for a sec. I've got a guy who wants to fight you. And Shane Cameron at that time was in the top 15 in the world. The very next fight after that, he knocks out Monty Barrett in the 4th round with one punch. And Monty Barrett's the only guy to drop David Tua. And then, so this is what happens. And, I love challenges, bro. I love challenges. And I thought, what? Shane's coming off an injury. And, you've put that to me. Let's go. Even though, for the record, Shane is a league man. He loves rugby league. He loves rugby league. But, it's funny because I still get people coming up to me now and go, you won that fight because referee got in the way and it became a bit of a tit for tat. It was all over the place. Dean Lonergan put a 20 grand knockout bonus on it. So there was blood money. It was huge, bro. It was a lot of fun. And out of all my fights, I would have that one and I lived that one over and over again because I had 2 weeks to prepare for Shane after thinking I was going to fight for a rugby guy. I had one of my coaches pull out. So I had a little Haimuli come in who's an absolute legend who's coached all the best in the business. And then we had a game plan. We had to get Shane off his game plan, and there's a bit of verbal involved. There's a bit of all sorts, and Shane didn't talk to me for about 2 years after that. We're back to best friends now, which is good because he's done wonderful things for boxing, bro. So that was a great night, and like I said, it's funny because. I know what it's like, but when you go out there, and he left me waiting in the ring for a very long time, because it was just me out there, and I hear a song Gambler, and realizing that a lot of people didn't even want it to happen. They thought that it shouldn't be the case, that my health was at risk and everything else, and and I got out there and I was fine, and I had a good night on it, and had memories forever, bro. It was an awesome, it was weird because like when I came back and boxed after that, I think. If I had that experience with Lawler for a longer time in that moment, that I reckon I could have done a little bit more.
Yeah, nice. So 2015, you won the NZNBF Cruiserweight title, mate. Was that your last fight?
Yeah, that was my last fight. But that was when I had aspirations of going on and doing some good things. But because when I went to defend that title, so that was a 10-round fight. When I went to defend that title against the same guy and fight for an Oceania title, what happened was I had a brain bleed, and I was just training with some boys, and we're getting ready. Everything was going really well, and I was sparring with those 2 different guys coming in at the same time. It was the last round after doing 8 rounds. It's 4 with each guy. I was just dropping my hands and moving and just having a bit of a punch on, and really enjoyed it. And I was feeling really good. And then the next day I sort of came up, woke up, and went to training. I don't know what it is because I'm quite in sync with my body and how I feel, and didn't feel quite right. I went home and I spoke to my doctors, and then I did a concussion test, passed that with flying colours. But I wasn't reacting to sensitive with the lights or sound or anything like that, which is, red flags that come up. And but progressively over the next sort of week or the next few days, I got tight through the back, and then it moved down through my lower back into my glutes, and then into my hammies, where I couldn't move, bro. I was actually like crippled and stopped like that. I couldn't even put on clothes or take them off. And what it was the blood that dripped from the brain down the spine into my lumbar. It pulled there, and by pulling there, that's what sort of stops you from moving. So I got rushed in. I had an MRI scan there and then, and that's when I thought, I have to give this up because my wife she doesn't even like me punching anyone else. I understand that, so I was like, man, because I was really enjoying it. I was just getting better at my craft and what I wanted to do. Had some ambitions, but health as well. So I gave it away then, man.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, I didn't know that one. What are you doing these days, mate? I know you're still commentating on the rugby league on Sky Sports over there in New Zealand.
Yeah, still doing that. I, the last 2016 Rio, I went to Sky Sports as a broadcaster for the Olympics. It was pretty amazing. Rugby league boy going over there doing equestrian, doing shooting, doing all sorts. That was an experience in itself. So I'll be doing the league, the boxing, and some of the kickboxing over the years. This year I was doing a lot of the league and the boxing as well. So I've been enjoying that because it's privileged work. You get to be there on hand. More of an expert talking pre-game and post-game because the games aren't here, so we can't really interview the players or do too much of that. I believe I was going to do some commentary this year at Mount Smart, but unfortunately it never happened. So hopefully next year, but we'll see. We'll see what happens in terms of the cards that are dealt. But I feel very privileged to be able to do that as a sport, and then come back and talk the great game of rugby league and talk boxing. And just this year as well, I've done it in past years. I was commentating the boxing, and then I jumped into the corner with my suit for one of the fighters that I was training as well, and he ended up winning too. So there's been a lot of fun, man. But Sky's good, because we've got some very good Warriors fans, supporters, loyal, whether it be over your side of the world, up there in Western Australia, Perth.
Yeah.
I can't believe you've got a jumper on, bro. It must be hot there. Or down here in Otara, South Auckland. We love our team, and people every day about this team, and sometimes I say, let's just have a break because next year start up, because it just gets full on because we love our side, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely, mate. What else have you been doing, mate? Besides for the Sky stuff, is there anything else that you sort of been up to post career?
Yeah, we're a co-founder of an organisation called Rio Indigo. We had an e-commerce platform. We've also got a platform called Manaki, which is a platform to help a small business, especially going through COVID and everything else like that. It's a social media platform as well right now, which is at early stages, but it's 4,000 people in terms of the network. And, it's just put up to help small business because small business is the backbone of this country and of all countries. And, they're the ones that give unconditionally, whether it be for the school fair, for the charities, for raffles, you name it, they do a lot. So, they're struggling through these climates. So it's about trying to help them out. So just doing a little bit of that. A co-founder with a guy that was in Xero, who led a global team there for the last 5 years. So, just learning that transition from professional sport, taking that high performance with you into business. And, although there's a lot of the stuff that I don't cover in terms of people, culture, networking, connections, that's something I think is pretty well.
Yeah, cool. Have you got any, inspirational advice for the young kids coming up, whether it be league, boxing, not just in sports, but in life in general, and maybe even something for the senior guys that are going through life, like, playing league or boxing over here that are maybe can't quite push it through to the level. Have you got any inspirational advice for these sort of people?
Yeah, I think there's just two quotes that I live by. I mean, those 3 Ps were something that helped me. That's my blueprint, right? Which is the purpose, the process, and perseverance. That's how you set your goals. You work through your goals, and then you make sure, because your purpose is strong enough, you go from perseverance all the way back around again. But 2 quotes I live by. Hard work beats talent when talent won't work hard. So you may be one of those guys who aren't the most gifted or the most talented, but believe me, in terms of if you apply yourself and work harder and you work when people are sleeping, or you work when they go home, or you work when no one is watching, you've got that right sort of ethic and culture, you can get ahead no matter what you've done. I've done Dancing with the Stars, I've done it all. I've done boxing, I've done league, I've done a number of different things, and I just use that same mindset, which is I'll work when no one else is willing to work, so that helps you. And then also, those who do not set goals will spend the rest of their lives serving those who do. From a young age, I was setting goals, and I gave you my 3 Ps here as well. And you've got to set those goals too, because they don't always have to be big goals. But when you're feeling a little bit down, if you set a little minor goal, or a goal that's just in arm's reach, that can give you something to work towards, that you feel is just around the corner. that you can get. And when you get that, you can go up the continuum of feeling good about yourself and feeling empowered. And then you can go again. You set another one, you can go again. And you can reset your purpose as often as you want to, just to ensure that you are really thinking about that and really care for that. Because the stronger your purpose is and the more dialed in it is, the best chance of you staying and focused on that. Because the more broad it is, the easier it is for you to go, oh yeah, I'll work on it tomorrow. Because it's easy just to make excuses. So I think there's a couple of bits of advice that have helped me and continue to help me, no matter who you are, what age or where you are in life.
Yeah. Before we sort of wrap up, mate, have you got any words for the Warriors supporters over here in Perth? There's plenty of them, mate.
Yeah.
Plenty of ones that only come out the woodworks when the Warriors are winning, but there's also plenty that are hard out Warriors supporters, mate. Have you got any words for them?
Oh, look, we just love Warriors supporters no matter what, man. So, but especially up in Perth. Perth's a beautiful part of the world. I'm a little bit jealous of the warmth and everything you get up there. But I know for a fact when the Warriors play up there, man, you get out of force, man. So that's respect. The players love that. When we're sitting back in a studio and we see that, we love that as well. So congratulations. Man, be proud because, we're proud, and it's hard for the boys at the moment because they've been 2 years away from home. No one's ever experienced this in the NRL and no one ever probably will. And let's hope it never happens again because it's nice for people to come home and play at home because they love their fans and they appreciate all their fans, and that's you guys included.
Yeah, no, beautiful, mate. Mate, I haven't got anything else, mate. You've answered everything I've asked you and then some. I really appreciate your time, mate.
Pleasure, bro.
If there's anything, I can do for you over here, mate, just let me know.
Appreciate that, bro. Appreciate it, man.
Any plugs or anything, mate, just send me links and I'll put them on the page.
Awesome. Now I know who you are, my man.
Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Jamie.
Thanks, mate. You have a great day.
You too, brother. Bye-bye.
Hey, mate.